LearnLeather.com.
Hey folks, Mike with LearnLeather.com. I'd like to take a minute today to talk to you about leather braiding. And I don't want to talk about how to specifically because there are many resources available for how to braid, including these two books by Bruce Grant, the abridged version and the Leather Braiding Bible, both of which are excellent resources if you have the time and the ability to decipher them. Also, on my website, LearnLeather.com, there's a friend of mine named Isaac who has some amazing videos on how to leather braid and leather lace. If you'd like to see those videos, click on the link up here in this corner of the video, and it'll take you straight to the website where you can check those out. So, moving on. What do you need to get good, smooth-looking leather lace or braiding on your projects? And I'm going to focus specifically on Mexican round braid because A, it's my favorite, and B, it's what I have available in the shop right now. This is a cuff that I made a few years ago, and as you can see, it is round braided. And you also can see that it's very smooth. It doesn't have this chunkiness that I see sometimes, and frankly have created it in the past. But I want to tell you how to achieve this smooth, tight, clean braiding look. And there's a few things that you need to know in order to do it. So, number one, you will need some leather lace. Now, I prefer kangaroo lace. This is some closeout stuff that Tandy had that I purchased when I was first starting, and I still have some of it left. It's excellent, but there are many other places available to get leather lacing. Second, you'll need some sort of lacing needle. Now, these are the ones that are sold by Tandy, and they have a split back here where you just pop this open, and sometimes it takes a pliers. There it goes. Pop it open, stick your lace in here to those two prongs, and then clamp it tight, and it will hold your lacing project. Okay, but we talked about wanting to be able to give you good information on how to achieve clean, tight braiding like this. And one of the problems with these needles from Tandy, or anywhere else, frankly, is that they're straight. And many times when you're working on a piece of tight braiding, you want to get that needle in there, and you'll find that it stabs underneath the next or previous bite, and you can't get the needle easily without bending it and twisting it in order to get where you want it to come out. And then that leaves stretch marks and sometimes a little bit of a frayed edge on your lace. And you want to minimize the abuse that your lace takes during the lacing process as much as possible. So what I do is I modify these needles so that they are no longer straight, and this makes the lacing process much, much easier. These, as you can see, have been curved and polished, and I regularly strop these during my lacing process to keep the ends nice and smooth and the tips shiny, and that makes everything just a little bit easier. Now, there are two different sizes. This one is for a little bit smaller lacing, tighter braiding like I did on this cuff, and the larger of the two, you can see the radiuses are different, is for a little bit more relaxed lacing or bigger size lace. And by the way, this will work not just with Mexican round braid, but any kind of braiding that you're doing. So that covers the needles. Essentially, you take this straight one and you bend it with a pair of pliers into the shape that you want and find out what works best for you. And how this came to be for me is while I was trying to get that needle in and out through this other bite, I'd find that it kept pushing up in areas that I didn't want it to come out, as I explained earlier. So I thought that this curve would help it come up just a little bit easier with less stress and wear and tear on the leather lace. And it works very well. It makes it a lot easier, especially if you're working around a corner, say on a bar stool where you can't get your needle in tight like this because there's a solid face here. This little bit of a modification will work wonders for you. Okay, so the next and probably the biggest step that helps with smooth and tight looking braids is this leather lacing. Now this is the standard backside of the lace. Here's the front. And as you can see, it's got sort of a sharp and square edge. And while this piece of lace is very thin, some of the other lace that's out there isn't as thin. And this, when you go back and forth and loop it over again and again into creating a braid, starts to stack up, and it creates thickness that is unsightly and frankly uncomfortable to wear, especially if it's rough on the inside where it's up against the skin. That can create irritation, especially if it's in a warmer climate. So making it smooth requires you to bevel your lace. And beveled lace looks like this. Now you can see the profile or the side of this is almost paper thin, and then it comes back out to its natural thickness, as you can see where I didn't skive it or bevel it. Now this, it's difficult to see because of the scale, but it's slightly angled, beveled. It's like this, a V shape, and that helps your lacing lay down tightly when you put it together. So how do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways. What I use most of the time is this tool. It is a lace cutter, lace beveler by Why Not Lace. And as you can see, the phone number here, you can call them. It's very easily adjustable for any kind of lace size that you want. And it comes with two separate angles. These are slightly different. As you can see, when that mounts in, this one will be a steeper angle than this one. And then this attachment over here is your lace cutter, and you can adjust that to cut your lace in any thickness that you want. So there are other tools available, some more expensive, some less expensive. Some of the cowboys that I know have a really great trick where they take a razor blade and they put it at an angle on a piece of board, and that creates the same angle that this tool creates, and then you just run your lace along that, and I'm sure you can find a YouTube video out there to describe that process if you want to make a cheap one. I bought this one because it did a lot of things in one tool. It has a mounting plate that sets right up on my bench, and it sits where I can work comfortably. So it's up to you and your budget and how much you want to spend to get the job done. This works wonderfully, and I've had it for now almost 6 years, and it still looks like brand new. Plus the blades are easily replaceable, and the angles are perfectly the same every time you replace the blade, so there's no variation. It's one of the advantages of having a tool like this. It's easily repeatable, and you can see there's some fine marks here for adjusting the thickness or width of your lace or your bevel. So that being said, there's only one last step. Once you've beveled your lace to the fine bevel that you see here, and that is once you have this piece already laced up and ready to go, you just slick it. And I use an edge slicker. And you'll find that on these Cocobolo edge slickers, there will always be one that fits the exact size of your braid, regardless of how thick or thin it is, unless you're braiding with rope. And you can use this in this fashion to further smooth out and compress your lacing once it's done. All right, there's one more thing that I'd like to cover with you, and that is in the event that you don't have access to a lacing needle like this, a braiding master friend of mine, and I say that with enunciation because saying master braider can be easily misunderstood. So you can create your own lacing needle with just a piece of leather lace. And all you need to do is cut it into a fine point like so. All right, and then with the help of a little bit of super glue, saturate your piece and let it dry. And this will create a nice rigid tip or needle that you can use to braid your lace. Hope it helps. Thanks for tuning in. Mike with LearnLeather.com. We'll see you next time.
LearnLeather.com